we will receive a new Nintendo console in 2024. Nintendo are one of the most secretive companies in gaming, with them rarely having any information leak outside of their control. But if you hadn't noticed, the Switch release lineup for this year is looking a little light. Looking at Nintendo's release radar, we don't have any first-party titles with confirmed release dates past March of this year, with Princess Peach Showtime being the last Nintendo game with a scheduled release date. The newest console generations in Xbox and PS5 are entering their third year, and the Nintendo Switch is entering its seventh year, which for a gaming console is a long time to be in market. Whilst I deeply love the system and as the console that I primarily game on, when comparing to these modern generation systems, some titles are starting to take a hit in visuals and performance. So this leads me to my first prediction, which is also the most heavily rumoured. We will receive a new Nintendo console in 2024. My prediction is that we'll see a new console announcement around Summer Games Fest in June, with the console most likely launching around mid to late September. I believe we'll see a mini direct in late February, announcing some titles to tie us over to June. But it is also quite possible that Nintendo turn this into a larger console announcement direct. With the success of the Switch, Nintendo will most likely continue with the hybrid console nature, and my thinking is we'll receive some sort of backwards compatibility with the current Switch. Having performance enhancements like their PlayStation Xbox counterparts, however, is most probably unlikely. In terms of power, I don't think that the console will be as powerful as the current Xbox and PlayStation systems, with Digital Foundry all but confirming GTA 6 would be incredibly tricky to run on the next Nintendo console. Given that the other consoles would be pushed their absolute limits with GTA 6, I don't think it is much a surprise it wouldn't run on a hybrid nature console. Rumours have suggested though that the new console is running Final Fantasy VII Remake at PS5 quality, so it's likely we'll see something at low-end PS5 capability. Nintendo have run their own race since the Wii generation, focusing more on experiences than graphical fidelity. My hope though is that the console is at least powerful and easy enough to develop for that we continue to see third-party developer support. I am incredibly excited for this impending console announcement as Nintendo always have the ability to surprise. Speaking of the Switch successor, I believe that Metroid Prime 4 will be released this year and be a launch title for the new Nintendo console. I believe we'll see a similar approach to Breath of the Wild, where we see the game released on both systems, with the newest console having a more enhanced experience. Metroid Prime 4 has been stuck in development for the better part of 7 years, originally being announced at E3 in 2017. In 2019, Nintendo announced that development had been restarted due to quality not meeting expectations, and that Retro Studios would be taking over development. Since the 29 update, in true Nintendo fashion, we haven't seen anything of the game outside of a logo reveal. Seeing as we haven't received any form of gameplay or even a hint of a release date, it would make sense for them to release this on the new console generation. Considering its extensive development time and the fan hype around the release, I have my doubts they will release this on a console at the end of its lifespan. Although they have done this to the Metroid series before, launching Samus Returns back on the 3DS during the Switch's first year. The stars are definitely aligning on this one, and surely this is the year it's released, right? Right? Continuing on with the Metroid Prime series, I believe we'll see the next 2 entries in the Metroid Prime Remastered trilogy. With both the fan and critic reception for Metroid Prime Remastered, I think it's only natural for them to capitalize on the success of this and release the other 2 in the trilogy. This would also allow newer fans of the series to be caught up on the story prior to the release of Metroid Prime 4. We saw a recent example of this with Pikmin, with the original Pikmin 1 and 2 releasing shortly before the release of Pikmin 4. I see these 2 being released on the current Switch in potentially a lead up to the new Nintendo console. With the game engine enhancements from Metroid Prime Remastered potentially giving this one a head start on development, I think we'll see a shorter turnaround on these 2. Even though we just received a new Mario release in Super Mario Bros. Wonder, I believe it is highly possible we'll receive a new 3D Mario release in the first year of the new Nintendo console. With Super Mario 3D World's re-release on Switch, we also received Bowser's Fury, a smaller contained 3D Mario experience. What I believe this was a proof of concept for a new Mario engine, with it feeling different from both Mario Odyssey and Mario 3D World. Nintendo also have the tendency to release a new Mario or Zelda release alongside a new console, with technically only the GameCube breaking this rule, with Luigi getting the spotlight over his brother with Luigi's Mansion. With Tears of the Kingdom dropping late last year, I think it's a bit too soon for a new Zelda release, but with Mario Odyssey launching back in 2017, I think we're due for a new 3D Mario game. Speaking of due for new releases, I believe a new Mario Kart is on the horizon. It's amazing to think that it's almost been 10 full years since we last received a new Mario Kart. Despite it being an enhanced port, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is still the #1 selling title on Nintendo Switch. It also received a massive boost of content in the last 2 years with the Booster Course expansion. But like 3D Mario, I think Nintendo has been well and truly cooking something behind the scenes. But the big question is, where do they take the series from here? Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was such a complete package and considered by most, myself included, the definitive Mario Kart experience. Whether we receive the release or just an announcement this year, I can definitely feel something brewing. Zelda Twilight Princess and Wind Waker HD are some of the last Wii U titles that haven't made their way over to the Switch. They are also part of a handful of Zelda titles that aren't currently playable on the Switch. I think this would be a quick win for Nintendo to fill a release gap prior to the new console. Both of these games look and feel fantastic on the Wii U, so I think there would be minimal effort to bring them over to the Switch. There has also been enough breathing room from Tears of the Kingdom that would allow these to self-sustain their own sales without compromising the sales of Tears of the Kingdom. These titles have been heavily rumoured for the last 3 or so years now, but with a light release window, I think there's a high probability we'll see these before a new console announcement. Or maybe this is just a Zelda fanboy praying. As a self-confessed amiibo addict, as much as it pains me to say, I think amiibo releases will finish in 2024. With the final Smash Bros. Release in Sora dropping next week, we have received all the announced amiibo releases. With the impending console release and the NFC chip not being utilised outside of amiibo, I think there's a possibility they'll remove it from production of the new console. I speculate that Nintendo will do one last global re-release of the Smash Bros. Amiibo line in a celebration of the last 10 years of amiibo. There have been some hints of this, with some overseas online retailers listing pre-orders for some out-of-print Smash Bros. Amiibo late last year, only for them to quickly disappear. I sorely hope I am wrong in this prediction, as I love everything about Amiibo. But who knows, maybe we'll receive Amiibo 2.0. With Pokemon Scarlet and Violet having their final DLC release, there is no Pokemon game scheduled for release this year or beyond. The Pokemon Company are known for keeping their game franchises moving to be able to support their other forms of media in the anime and TCG. With newer Pokemon generations tend to lean on the better side of 3 years, I believe this entry will be a remaster of a previous generation over a brand new one. Pokemon Black and White have been heavily suggested as next in line to receive a HD remaster, with their fellow DS entries in Diamond and Pearl already receiving the HD treatment. But we also just saw a bunch of Gen 1 and 2 Pokemon being added within the last Scarlet and Violet DLC, so could have this been a hint they were creating some assets for a new Gold and Silver remake? Only time will tell with this one, but if I were to put my Poké-dollars on it, I would lean towards a Black and White generation remaster. Could a new F-Zero be on the way? With F-Zero 99, we saw the first new entry to the series since the Game Boy Advance. We've seen a slow trickle of F-Zero games being added to the Switch, with both the Super Nintendo and N64 entries being added with their respective consoles to the NSO service. We also have the GBA entry of F-Zero Maximum Velocity in the pipeline to be added to the service. There had been rumours circulating that the fan favourite GameCube entry F-Zero GX was to be remastered for the Nintendo Switch. It is possible that Nintendo were testing the waters of fan interest of playing a new F-Zero with F-Zero 99. As a massive fan of the series, I would welcome this with open falcon arms. So that's all from my Nintendo crystal ball at present. How do you think my Nintendo predictions will go, or do you have any predictions of your own? Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to smash that like button to let me know. Thanks for sticking all the way to the end. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not already, and I'll catch you in the next one.